Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Thank you for joining us today. I'm very happy to see you guys here today. We are going to start immediately in a minute. But before we start, I'd like to tell you a few things about organization of today's event. First of all, let's do very quickly a technical check together, okay? Please write in the comments whether you can see me and whether you can hear me. It's very important to start. Just use the chat to write anything like hi or anything you'd like to. It's only for me to know that everything is working properly. Oh, nice. I see the comments, so I am assuming that everything's working right. Okay. Let's go. You should also know that we see your comments with a very little time lag. And if any one of you had, any technical related problems during the event, just text us in the chat. Anyway, you will receive the recording of today's event via email. We will send a link to the recording to you after we have finished. And yeah, I think we are fine with the organizational things. One more time, I'm very happy to see you guys. My name is Cornelius and I represent House of Angular. And House of Angular is a software development agency. We do provide such services like enterprise end-to-end front-end solutions and consulting or code and project audits. And besides that, House of Angular powers Angular.love. And Angular.love, it's a community. And Angular.love, it's a blog, it's a website about Angular, the most significant in Poland. And if you're looking for a good source of knowledge about Angular, I strongly recommend you to see Angular.love. And coming back to the webinar will take around 50 minutes. After the main talk, we will have the Q&A session. And we received part of your questions before the event in our survey, and the questions will be answered during the Q&A. And also, if you had any questions related to the presented content, don't hesitate to write your questions in a chat. So I think the time for the talk came, and I'm happy to introduce our expert, Przemek Leczycki. Przemek is an Angular team leader at House of Angular. He's been managing a team of developers for over 8 years now. He's a great Angular expert, and he supports Angular.love community and shares his knowledge at the blog. And today, Przemek will tell you about how to scale Angular applications and Angular teams. Hello, Przemek. It's great to have you here.
Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to the webinar, How to Scale Angular Applications and Teams. My name is Przemek Leczycki. I'm a software developer and team leader. I'm passionate about working as a programmer, and I've been working on a large-scale applications for a long time. And today I want to share some of my knowledge with you.
Sure. So, Przemek, the stage is yours. Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, so the plan for today is to somehow define the scalability and tell a little bit more about the challenges we may have when we want to scale our applications. And after the first part, I will show some code examples and the real usage of tools like Storybook and NX that may help you to scale your apps. And after the webinar, I hope you will be able to monitor your danger points and catch potential issues in your architecture at the very early stage. Okay, to explain what scalability is, we should go through its core elements, like the performance, which is the ability to handle increasing amount of load while still maintaining the requirements of your application. The maintainability, which is the ease with which we can add new features or fix the bugs. and reliability, which means that something will work as expected with little or no disruptions, and good reliability gives the confidence to add or change code without fear that something will break. And the last one is cost. What is the cost of modifying the code, and how much time and effort we need to put into achieving our goals? At first, I will talk a little bit more about the performance scalability. And to talk about the performance scalability, probably we should start about the talk on the backend scalability, because usually when we try to search or Google the term for the scalability, we'll see a lot of topics related to the backend, but it's a little bit different than the front-end scalability. Let me explain why. What does the scalability mean for the backend? It means that servers should be able to handle multiple clients and requests at the same time without slowing down significantly. So on this diagram, we see the two lines. One represents the good scalability, and it's really linear. We see even on a high scale of the application, we are still managed to get pretty fast response. For the poor scalability, we will see the significant drop when we'll increase our scale of application. And what we can do to scale application in the backend? Probably we can add better hardware, or we can add load balancing or split our code into the microservices. We can even add faster bandwidth, but can we make the same approach to the front end? Probably no, because we don't have a big influence on what device users will use, what browsers they will use, and we cannot even improve the hardwares of our clients. It sounds easy to to maintain the scalability on the front end app, but it's not true. To maintain this good scalability, we need to put a lot of effort to keep all the interactions pretty fast in our app. And usually competition doesn't sleep, so we must quickly deliver new functionalities, new features. And when we will add many features, we will have like very high number of features in our applications. Probably our app will start slowing down or being just slower. And let's take a look what may go wrong during the implementation. For example, we can load too much data at the same synchronously. So we wait for the previous request to finish until we start another request. Maybe we load two big chunks of data at once, and we wait a lot for the backend response, and we can split it a little bit. Maybe we do not use lazy loading, and we load big chunk of code that will probably not be used at this time at the very beginning when we load our application, which leads to very big initial page load, which is a big problem for the users. They don't like to wait. We are living like very fast life right now, and we need to engage somehow our users because otherwise they will go and find another application or another solution. And the last problem is the memory leaks. If we do not close the subscriptions or we do not monitor our memory usage, probably we will end up having big memory leaks, which will slow down our application significantly. And of course, this will be more visible when we will have like very big amount of features in our application. And the next topic I would like to cover is the maintainability. When we talk about the maintainability, we should talk about the teams and processes. And this diagram shows my personal experience from unmaintainable projects. And in general, it can be applied to the most of the projects you will have. Let me explain. The diagram shows the how many features or stories teams of 3, 5, or 10 developers can deliver in each sprint. On the bottom, we see the sprint number. And on the left, we see the number of features we can deliver. So for example, in the first sprint, all the teams will deliver probably less than 10 sprints, 10 stories in a sprint. But this is caused because usually at the beginning of the project, we don't work at a full speed yet. We spend a lot of time setting up environments, building the knowledge base, and planning the architecture. But at some point of time, we start to have architecture talks. And after that, usually our productivity skyrockets, and we see this really big increase of delivered features in one sprint. But this not always stay for a long time. And this is because sometimes we tend to use very simple architecture, like from the Angular tutorial or other simple tutorials that are not meant to be scalable in the big projects. Okay, and let's see what next problems we may have using like too simple architecture or not well-designed architecture. After some time, we can realize that we just build the big ball of mud. And this means that module boundaries are not kept. Modules are tightly coupled with each other, and it's difficult to understand or change the code base. And I assume that if we try to build a big application, we will use CI, and the CI processes in those applications without the boundaries tend to take more and more time, even half hour or more. And this leads us that every PR change will cause the pipeline to run another time for half hour. And this is really painful for the developers to wait such a long time before each iteration of the fixes in your pull request, which leads us to deliver the stories later or even not delivering the sprint goals. Okay, the next thing that may happen is that when we have really long CI processes, probably we will not write so many tests, because tests, it's a big part of the CI as well. And we'll end up having recurring bugs because our code will not be covered with the tests. And after that, lack of the time for all the previous topics I told about will lead to have like outdated UI. Sometimes in very big applications, the UI looks like from the decade ago. And yeah, I will try to show you how to avoid those things and how to make better architecture. Because at this point of time, like at the very beginning of the very end of this diagram, probably adding another developer will not increase the development speed significantly. And I will try to show you how to fix that and maintain this green line, so we will be able to deliver a fair amount of stories in every sprint, every future sprint. Okay, so I will walk you through the full diagram, starting from the part when we set up our project, and I will tell you how to set up the project quicker. To do that, I would recommend to use NX tools, because NX, starting with the project with NX gives you like a huge boost in the productivity at the beginning, because NX comes with like built-in support for mono repos, so you can manage multiple projects in and libraries in one place, and you can automate tasks like testing, building, and deploying. So setting up the project using NX is very simple. We just use one command, npx create NX workspace, and after that we'll be asked by NX CLI a few questions. Of course, which stack we want to use. We will use Angular, of course. We'll be then asked about a few other questions like, would we like to have integrated monorepo or standalone project? We can go for the standalone project in very simple applications, but I would recommend to use integrated monorepo to being able to have multiple libraries in our project. We choose application name, which is the style sheet format. I would recommend a CSS. We can choose the test runner because NX will prepare the project with already set up automated tests like E2E tests using Cypress or Playwright. It depends on you what you will choose there. And then it will ask, would we like to use the standalone components in our application? And I would recommend to use standalone approach. It's the new approach of the Angular, which in my opinion, it's much cleaner right now. Then we can set up routing automatically. And the last step is to answer the question, would we like to use the caching, distributed caching from the NX? It's a great performance boost, but it's not free. You need to subscribe to NX Cloud to have this possibility, but it comes with the great benefits that I will talk later. Okay, and after that, to run our application, we need to just use the NX serve command and pass the application name there. This is how the NX welcome page looks like. This is the Angular application that was built for us, and we can start working on our project from that. Okay, using NX can also generate libraries and components, and we can even adjust the generator in NX JSON file. So for example, here we see the three definition of generators. One is a generator for the application. The second one is the generator for the Angular libraries. And the third one is just the generator for the components. And I would recommend to set the change detection here as a default one on push to just avoid memory leaks later on. Okay, this is how it looks when you generate the library. It's simple as using the command nxglib, and we pass the directory, the name of the library, the prefix that our library will have. We can skip module, of course, because we go standalone right now, and we can set that we want to have predefined routing. Okay, let's move to the next problem, how to boost productivity on a daily basis. When we already had this, we already set up our environment, we use the NX, we boost a little bit the beginning of the project, but now we want to maintain the good performance in our team for a longer time. So to explain how we can do that, we need to learn some basic Scrum guidelines. And the goal of the Scrum, one of the goals of the Scrum is to minimize work in progress by breaking down the large tasks or stories into smaller pieces. And by focusing on one task at the time, the team can complete this task faster and with higher quality, which improves overall efficiency of a team. But how to reduce the work in progress when we have really tight coupled application? Even if we split our library or our story into smaller tasks, like creating the UI elements, creating to-do page and guards, creating API contracts, or creating to-do list feature and store. So this is the part when we when we build all the logic behind our feature, and after everything, we can merge those previous building blocks and small tasks into the one big feature that we can show to our clients. Okay, so in tight coupled systems, you can see that we need to wait for each task to be finished before we start the next task. For example, to start working on a to-do list UI, we need to create the page, set up the guards, create the contract, because in the tight coupled UI I've seen so many times people tend to use the contracts from the API in the UI layer, which is not a very good idea, and I will explain that why later on during this talk. Okay, so we already set up the page, the routing. Additionally, we know already that how our API response will look like. And usually when we have like this very tightly coupled architecture, only one person can work on a single story. And this, of course, will increase the work in progress significantly in our team. And let's see how the same story can look like in the loosely coupled architecture. So loosely coupled architecture allows the team to work on one story at the same time without causing conflict or confusion. This is because the various parts of the system are designed to be independent of each other, so that the changes made for one part of the system don't have a direct impact on another parts. And I'm gonna show you what does it mean in the real example. So to create the to-do list story, we can start creating UI at the same time when we create the empty page and guards, and then we can talk about the API contracts with the backend. We can write those contracts as a simple interfaces in our application. And after that, we can work on the logic of the to-do list, and we can merge this with the UI layer at the very end of the story. And you can see this story can be easily split by 3 developers, and they can work at the same time. Okay, so let's see how this story may look like. So, for example, here we have a story to show the to-do list, and the description of this story is that me as a user wants to see the to-do list when I open /todo URL, I see the loader. After loading is complete, I see the list of my to-dos, and to-do contains name and status, if to-do is completed or not. When to-do cannot be loaded, I see the error message, and when to-do is empty, I see when the list of the to-dos is empty, I see the message no to-dos. And there is a hint that changing the status and deleting will be done later. So at this story, we only need to print the list of the tasks. Okay. And this is the UI of this application. So on the bottom, we see the loading screen, we see the error screen, and we see the list itself. Okay, and if you remember, I said that modules should be loosely coupled, and I would recommend UI to not have any other dependencies, and working on the UI should be independent on other tasks, and we should not create the page even to show the UI. But how to achieve that? I will show you the sample code, how the UI elements may look like. So this is my demo application, and here I have my UI directory, and in this UI directory I have few components like buttons, the form errors, I have the input field, I have this UI for loaded content, which is the simple component that will let me show the loader when, for example, flag is loading is set to true. When something is loaded and there is some kind of error, we'll show the error, and in any other case, we'll just project the content using the ng projection from Angular. Okay, so this is how it may look like. Here I have also the to-do list item. This will represent the item on our list. And as you see, I've created the separate interfaces for each component. So this one also had its own interface. This is because I don't want to have any other dependencies, like dependencies on the contracts. I don't want to include anything from the outside to this directory. This is because I want to show and build my UI components in isolation. But you may ask how I can show those UI elements to, or even test those UI elements without even having the page and the routing. And to do that, we can, of course, use a storybook. This is the tool that I would like to introduce to you. And this is basically a sandbox where you can put your components and show your components. You can also test the components with multiple states, like I have a state for to show when the content is loaded, so I can see what controls do I have and what properties are set here. So if loading is false, I will see the content of the component. If the loading will be true, I will see this loader element. And when I will have any kind of error message, I will see something like this. Okay, and here we have the stories for the to-do item, and we see the state of this to-do item right here. So this one is done. This to-do is complete, so it will be crossed over. This is how it looks when the to-do is undone, and this will look when we will have a sample prefix using the ng projections here, and we can also have the suffix in this UI element. Okay, I will show you the sample story. If you're not familiar to Storybook, this is how the stories looks like. There is a simple story definition in the Storybook. We can create some mock data, and if you see, if we will use this UI interface, it's much easier to mock the stories here. So here I have those states like done, undone. With prefix, we can also use the template. We are not only required to pass simple parameters, we can also modify the template itself, and this is how the story will look like when we will have a suffix, and I use the content projection here. Okay, let's go back to the presentation, because guess what? The NX can generate the Storybook configuration for you. You don't have to do it manually, which is really great. And now I already told you about the API contracts, and I would like to explain a little bit more what exactly the API contract is. It's a really important building block that also should not be dependent on other modules. And the goal of this contract is to provide the clear definition of the available endpoints and the format of the data that is being exchanged by the backend and frontend. So let's see how this contract may look like. And in this case, I've used the library REST contracts, which may help you to define better contracts in your application. But you can also use the simple variables and interfaces. So here I defined one contract, read one to do contract, which tell me that I need to use the method get on a path /to do/ the ID parameter with the parameter of ID, and this API will return for me the content of the to-do response item. And this is the contract definition, and on the bottom we see how we can use those contracts in our data services. So here I have one method to read one to-do item by ID, and in the path parents I will type my path parents as the read one to do contract path parents, and I will type my response as an observable of type of read one to do contract result. This is really helpful. You can also define the headers or body parameters and so on. So it's a very clean way to keep your contracts. Okay, and when we already have our simplest building blocks, we can enforce their boundaries using the slint. Slint is predefined tool that comes with the NX, and slint is a static code analyzer that helps you to find problems in your code easily. You can also use slint in your CI. Okay, so also in slint you can enforce the module boundaries, which is a great opportunity. So in this case, I configured my slint to secure every project that in source stack, his source stack will be the type contract, and this type contract will only be dependent on the libs like with the tags type contract. So we see we already set up the boundary that contract cannot use any other libraries. The next, I secured the source tag type UI, and this type UI can only be dependent on type util and type UI. In utils, I use utils for small tools that I use along in my every project, but the utils will not change very often. So usually they will be fixed for a long time, and then they will not cause any breaking changes. Okay, and on the right you see the example how your IDE will behave when you will break the boundaries of the modules. So you'll see the slint error that a project tagged with type UI can only depend on the libs tagged type util and type UI. And you see that we have a UI to the item here, and I try to use the contract element here, and I cannot do that because I get this error, which is really useful. Okay. This is how linting looks like. We can use also lint with a very handy tool that only will lint affected libraries. So it uses the Git history to find what libraries should be linted or tested. So this may speed up the CI process a lot if we have good boundaries, because we will not use all the tests from the project, or we will not lint all the libraries every time. We will only lint those that are affected by our change. Okay, and finally, having the clear boundaries will really help us to avoid building something called big ball of mud, where building blocks are randomly dependent on each other. And you can see the example of the big ball of mud on the screen. Okay. The next topic I would like to cover is the features that tend to accumulate many other small features, like every kind of list. And usually we build lists at the beginning when we start some new module. Probably we start from the list, because from the list we will be then redirected to the details page and so on. And so many developers tend to put all the logic of those small features, like deleting the element, like here to do. We see few accumulated features on this simple view. We see the feature of creating the to-do, the changing the resolution from done to undone. This is the checkbox here, and deleting the to-do. There are a lot of accumulated features here, and usually I've seen that people putting everything to the feature of to-do list. But then we can quickly realize that those features are also used on different pages, like this detail page. We can also have like resolve button or delete to remove the to-do from this view as well. And then usually it's end up that the details view is somehow dependent on the to-do list, which does not make a big sense, I think, because changing the list may even introduce the bugs to the details view. But how to decouple those things, and what issues we may face during this process. So let's try to split our features and pages into smaller groups. So we'll have in our application the two pages. One will be the page to do, which will show the to-do list. The second one will be the page to do details that will show us the to do details view. And we will have features like feature to-do list that will load the list from the server. The feature to-do details, it will load the details of the one to-do item from the server. We'll see feature to delete to-do. It will, of course, do the delete request to the server. Feature to do resolution, it will update the resolution from done to undone and otherwise. And the last one is feature to create new to do elements. Okay. So let's show the demo, how it looks like. So this is the app. We can add a new to-do to our to-do list. We can change the resolution of this to-do back and forth, or we can delete the to-do elements. And this is everything that we can do on this to-do page. And when we go to the details, to-do/ID of this to-do element, we can simply do pretty same thing, but it works a little bit different for the details, as you see. And for example, if we click delete, we should be redirected back to our to-do list. And of course, in the tight coupled architecture, probably the details view will know, okay, the delete feature will know that it exists on the details view. So the detail will just somehow use the method from the details, or it will maybe use the router itself, and it will navigate back to the list. And if we will try to do the same thing here, probably this will be the different feature, because this feature will need to know that, okay, when I delete the element from the list, probably I need to update the list state, or just notify somehow the list that, okay, you have I removed that element, you have to reload the elements on your list itself. Okay, let's see how the implementation of the feature to-do list may look like. So let's go to the features here. And I've used the NGRX store. I will tell a little bit more about that later when we will be talking about decoupling the elements. But you can see that this to-do list is pretty simple. It has some observables, like this one is loaded from the facade that I call feature, and this facade is just a facade over the store, so I don't want to expose the internal implementation of the store to my components. So I use those facades. So for example, here I can select some to-do lists from the state. I can load the to-do list by dispatching the store action to-do list actions opened. I will tell a little bit more about the events later on. The state itself is pretty simple. We have few actions like opened, loaded with error, loaded with success, and silent reload request, which I will talk about later on. I also like to define the providers when we choose the module-based Angular architecture. We will have the module here, but somehow to encapsulate some providers, I really like to use something like this constant that will gather all the required providers by this feature, and we see that we are providing this facade of to-do list, we providing some effects of the NGRX, and we providing the state itself with the reducers and actions. Okay, but how I achieved the situation where my to-do delete feature doesn't really know about the feature to-do list or feature to-do details if it's implemented there. So to achieve that, I used an event-based approach. This can be achieved using NGRX and shared actions. So I created a new library which is called feature to do common, and this common library would be used by can be used by all the features, but the features cannot use directly itself. So the feature to-do list cannot use the feature to-do details, but it can use the feature to-do common. And in the common actions, I see I have the action of to-do deleted with success, for example. And then when I dispatch this action in the to-do delete feature, this to-do deleted with success action can be consumed by the future to-do list, and then to-do list can somehow react and give some behavior of its own. So how does it work in NGRX? I will show you. Oh, maybe not. I'm logged as a guest, and I don't have. I forgot that I will not have Redux tools, but I will try to explain that. So, for example, if I will delete this element, even if I'm here on the details, I will emit this action to do deleted success action, and all of my effects and all of my reducers that are provided to this point that are creating the state can react on this event. So it's global. It will be visible in every provided state to this point. This may cause confusions. So, for example, if we would like to use this action in the effects, we may end up loading the list, even loading the to-do list, even if we are not seeing this page. That's why I creating something like the events observable, and then I will merge all the actions that are required on this feature to-do list. So, for example, here I see I am subscribed to that action in the to-do list component, and if that to-do list component will be destroyed, the events will not occur anymore, which is really important, because when I delete here and I will not be redirected, I don't want to reload the to-do list item. Okay, when we use the reducers, for example, we don't want to reload the whole list and load it again from the server. We can use the reducers, and this is a great approach because in reducers, you will be able to do something like this, that on to-do list action, to-do common. to do common actions. I have this to do delete with success, and I can react on this success action. And for example, I can filter the to-do list and remove this deleted to-do element in the reducer, and it will update the state in the whole application. So the whole reducers will reduce the state in different places, which is great. But sometimes we tend to use just reloading from the server. Sometimes it's maybe easier, or sometimes it's just required. So I just wanted to show you that approach as well. And having this feature to do common, let us decouple those features, and I will show you how and why. So let's take a look at the NX graph. NX graph is a tool that can show us dependencies in our applications. So for example, here is our application. It's called demo, and it contains those two pages, like page to do and page to do details. And page to do will use those libraries like feature to do create, feature to do list, feature to do delete, and feature to do resolution. This is exactly what we have here. This page will use it. But as you remember, I show you that on the feature to do list, we have the implementation of this ng projection that is responsible for putting those two elements, the one for resolution and one for deleting. And this is placed in the feature to do list component. And how it's done? It's done like this. I have two wrapper components for this feature that using this ng projection. So the one is for to-do list resolution, and the second one is for to-do list delete. Let's see what's happening in this component. And as you see, this component have injected feature, which is this facade for the feature to do delete. But this is not the implementation of feature to do delete, but only abstraction over this implementation that is placed in the to do common. So at this time, when we will see the NX graph, we see that feature to do list it's not connected to the feature to do delete, neither the feature to do resolution or neither to do feature to do create, because it's connected to feature to do common. And what is benefit of that? So for example, let's try to edit implementation of the feature to do delete. So I will just put the comment there, test, I will save it. And I will show you how NX affected graph look like. It's pretty similar, but it can show us the affected libraries by this change. So, okay, I think I also changed the feature to the list by, it was my mistake. I just wanted to modify the feature to do delete. And let's generate the NX graph one more time. We need to always regenerate the NX graph. And as you see, when we modify the feature to do delete, the feature to do list is not affected even, because it only uses the abstraction over this feature. So we can easily now change or fix the implementation or of feature to do delete implementation without causing, without affecting the libraries that use its own abstractions. So this the library feature to-do list will only change when we will change the abstraction here. And you may guess that it's not happening that often as changing the implementation. And if we'll try to use the nx affected lint command, it will only lint the feature to do delete, the page to do, and the demo application, and of course the details, because the details also uses this feature as well. So this can speed up our CI processes a lot. And yeah, I think that's it from the code part I wanted to show you. And let's go back to the presentation. Okay. So I will go simply and just summarize everything. So I splitted the pages from the features, and the page is just a collection of specific features. Page is only responsible for fetching correct route parameters and passing them into the features. We don't want to put the activated route, for example, on the features, because features can be reused on multiple places or multiple pages, and we don't want to couple them to the routing, because then we'll need to use the same route parameters every time. Page should be tightly coupled within its own route, so we cannot reuse the page on different routes. And each page should be always lazy loaded and secured by right guards. I will show you how this looks like. So I always recommend to use lazy loading in Angular, because nowadays it's so simple to lazy load pages or components or routes in Angular. To do that, we can use the load children property from the router routes collection, and we can here show the file with the routing, or we can even directly lead this route to the component. This is how the routes for this page looks like. So in this page we have providers, and here this is the way we provide the implementation to this abstraction using the Angular DI dependency injection system. We can provide feature to do delete with the implementation of feature to do delete implementation, and everything of that will be injected on the page level. So we can easily adjust our providers on every page, which is easier to understand by other developers. Okay. And of course, this is very simple example. I didn't want to introduce any guards, any permissions, because I did it at the beginning, but I think the code was not that readable after that for such a short presentation. So I removed that. And I will just define the features. Feature is like a building block that can be easily replaced or upgraded without breaking the whole system. You want to avoid tight coupling between features, so they cannot use each other. They can use feature common, but not directly itself, so that they are independent and don't rely on each other. And by making each feature focused and self-contained, you can avoid the spaghetti code So one feature calls another one, and another feature calls another one. You don't have that. I told you about the event-based approach, which means the feature tells I did something, and you do whatever you want. I just notify you that I did something, but I'm not telling you that you have to do this, this, and this. You can decide. And this is the event-based approach. Okay, use the common libraries, and just pay attention to the common libraries. You can't have like only one common library. It must be grouped somehow. So for example, for the to-do elements, you may have one to-do common library. For the permissions, maybe you can have another one, and so on, because whenever you will change the abstraction in this feature to do common, it will affect all the libraries that uses feature to do common. The same thing goes for the UI elements. When we change them and we are using the UI elements on multiple pages, they usually cause the affecting other libraries, which may just slow down the CI as well. But the UI elements usually does not change that often. Okay, and the last thing is I would like to talk about the NX Cloud, which is great opportunity. It's not free, but you may pay for the NX Cloud, and you get the distributed task execution. You have remote caching. So for example, maybe you can use even the buildable libraries. The buildable library will build this library once, will cache it in the NX Cloud, and every developer that will try to build this project again will use this cached build library. So it will not, every developer don't need to build this library again. I told a lot of NX affected, so I truly recommend that. And after that, you see, you should be able to cover at least most of the problems here. I hope the performance of your application will also be better, because you will use lazy loading. Your modules will load less data. You will be able to load smaller chunks of data using smaller features, and reuse those features in multiple parts of your system. And I hope this webinar helped you to manage good scalable architecture, fast CI processes, decoupled architecture, which lets you fix things once in all places. And finally, thanks to the storybook, your UI will always look fresh, and you will have a lot of joy developing the code. Okay, so overall, like investing in a good architecture can be a smart business decision, and it will pay off for the long run, both in terms of cost savings and increased amount of the satisfaction. So thank you for your attention, and you can find me at the GitHub, github.com/aliprz, and I will make this repository with the code public, so you'll be able to browse to it and check it. Thank you.
Thank you, Przemek, for the great talk. I really enjoyed it, and I hope everyone else also did. Now we are starting the Q&A session, but before we start, I'd like to mention two very important things. First of all is a survey about today's event. For us, it's really important to gain feedback from you guys, because it's the only way we can improve our events and do it better. And for you, it's also the opportunity to let us know what should be the next webinar about, and we will take your suggestions into account, and we will present the suggested topics. So if you had a few seconds to fill in the survey, we would really appreciate it. And the second important thing, we have prepared 2 bonuses for you today, only for the participants of the webinar. And first bonus is that we offer 20-minute consultations, and it's about scaling the project or scaling the team. And you can book the consultations at webinar@houseofangular.io. Just text us, write us a message that you would like to book a consultations. And during the consultations, our expert, maybe that will be Przemek himself, will answer your questions about scaling the project, about any problem you could have related to scaling the application or the team. And we will review your case individually. And it's completely free of charge. It's for free, but we have only 3 spots available. So if you would like to go for it, just write us an email at webinar@houseofangular.io. And that was the first bonus. And the second bonus is that we, as House of Angular, we support other Angular teams, other Angular projects, and we offer a project audit. So if you're struggling with a little wider problem than just scaling your application, or maybe you're looking for a problem in your app because you are aware that there is one, but you have no idea where and what it's about, you can apply for the audit. You can do it on our website, houseofangular.io. Under our services, you can find code audit, and then you must fill in the form you can find down on the page. And in a message, just write that you are participating in the webinar, and you will receive the audit for free. So it's completely free of charge, but we have only 2 spots available, and it's only for you, for people who have been today with us. Yeah, I think we can start with answering your questions. Mohammed was asking about the access to the GitHub repository. And as Przemek mentioned at the end, there is free access. You saw the link. Maybe, Przemek, you can also paste the link in the comments so everyone can, copy it if needed. And in the meantime, I found the second questions in the chat. And Przemek, Katarzyna is asking, how can we scale a BDD mindset with a BDD mindset?
Okay, so first of all, I will explain what the BDD is, because maybe not all of people know what does it mean. I think BDD stands for the behavior-driven development, and usually it uses the Gherkin language to describe the test cases, like given, when, then. So I think it's a great opportunity to have like BDD tests in the project. I think there are some use cases. For example, I had like very complex use case when we only had like a piece of text in our system, and it was telling what availability product has, but it was so complicated to know how we need to present this element that BDD tests would be very helpful. And I want to mention that usually BDD tests are really people think that they need to use the integration tests for that. So, for example, the BDD test may be something like that, given feature list. When I open /todo page, I see the list. I don't think it's a good representation of the BDD itself. And for example, this simple thing that we've been building for this availability could be easily unit tested, but writing those unit tests may be complicated because we had things like, okay, from the API, we had a big response with something like, okay, we have a color of the availability. It can be green, yellow, gray, or red. And but if this color comes with the months, for example, available in months, it should be, for example, red and comes with the text, this product will be available in months or something. Or if this comes with the date, this will show this will be available in some kind of months. And if it's not available, the color does not mean anything on this response, but we should take the date and see if the date is in the future or past. So it was so complicated. It really even had more complex things like there are only few products left, and we had to then change the text completely. So this is the perfect case for using the BDD mindset in the front-end programming. There are some cases that require like describing the job really well. So then it's easy to maintain by other developers. They understand every single behavior of this component.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Przemek. I see the next question from Alessandro. And the question is regarding the performance that you talked about at the beginning. What factors and criteria should be taken into account when determining what constitutes a large chunk of data payload in the context of data fetching? So the second part of the question is in the chat. So yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so there are two things we can fetch on the front end. The first thing is the data from the API, and the second thing is the code, like our libraries. So to cover the big chunks in terms of the API response, sometimes we tend to put everything inside the big response, but maybe, for example, if we have a to-do list, we can load it very quickly and then send another request for assignees for this to-do item. So then we'll see the list, the loading indicator, and after we loaded assignees, we show, for example, the tiny heads on each task, and we know who is assigned. So then we can split the loading of the data. And of course, first thing we probably will need to use RxJS, because then it's much easier to manage the observables and the order of what we load when we load something. I recommend to load as many things at once, and or prioritize what we want to load first and what we want to load later. And that's why it's important for me to have like separate components for the pages, because then I know after loading the page, I have this component, and this component can do this, and this, and then he can ask another feature or feature that will load maybe other data. This is what I was thinking about, talking about the big chunks of data that we can split. And the second thing is the chunk of the data of our code, of the libraries. That's why I like to use the NX, because it can easily make your code base really easy to understand. That's why I showed you the NX graph. The dependencies between the libraries are very, very clear. And thanks to that, Angular has the tree shaking mechanism, which will remove not used code, or it will create the small amount of data that will be loaded of the code, of course, that will be loaded when we will, for example, change the page, and we will lazy load them. And this is the great opportunity to use those libraries to reduce unused code wherever we can.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Alessandro, would you like to follow up on that question, or everything is clear from what Przemek said? Yeah, okay. Thank you. I see this. So, do you have more questions, guys? Because I can't see in the chat. Perfect, thanks. Sure. So I suppose there are no more questions that need to be answered. By the occasion that you are guys here, still, I'd like to invite you to the meetup organized by Angular.love community. We will have 3 guests, 2 Google developer experts and 1 NX champion, and we will talk about the security in Angular and about NX itself. So you can join us at the 26th of October. It will be, of course, online available. I'd like to thank you guys that you have joined today. I also wanted to thank you, Przemek, for the great talk. I hope, guys, that you really enjoyed it, that you had a lot of fun, and that you gain knowledge that you're looking for. And I hope to see you during the next events we are going to organize together. Thank you one more time, and see you guys. Also remember about the consultations and about the audit.